All right. Well, I'm glad you made it here this morning for installment 3 of our summer blockbuster series, and I'm convinced that you're going to leave here today already, having said this was time well spent. The great American storyteller, one of my favorite authors, Mark Twain, once remarked, "Life would be infinitely happier if we could only be born at the age of 80 and gradually approach 18. Now that's an interesting observation. And even if you haven't made Twain's exact observation, I'm sure that most of you at one point or another have wondered similar things, like, if only I knew then what I know now, my life would be so much different. Or, if only I could have started adolescence with the kind of wisdom that I had when I reached my 30s. Or, if I could just turn back time, I could erase some of the pain from yesteryears." Well, Twain's observation inspired another great American author and storyteller, F. Scott Fitzgerald, to, in 1922, write a short story called "The Curious Case of Benjamin Button." And in this story, this was Fitzgerald's way of putting Twain's observation to the test. It's his way of saying, oh really, would it be infinitely better, would we be infinitely happier if we could start life at 80 and then live backwards? And so that's the question that Fitzgerald explores in this short story. And now fast forward 100 years to our day, and you see Hollywood director David Fincher release a cinematic adaptation of Fitzgerald's short story in the movie The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, which was done well enough to win 3 Oscars and 26 other awards and be nominated for 46 awards. Huge movie, one of the most popular movies of the last 12 months. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button is a movie about a boy who is born under very unusual circumstances. Instead of having all the features that we would associate with a newborn, like a disproportionately large head and soft, tender skin and bright, big eyes, Benjamin Button is born with all the features of a frail old man. He's got wrinkled skin and it's coarse, and his eyes are sunken and kind of hollow. His mother dies while giving birth to him, and his father, who comes into the room, remember this is 1922, his father comes into the room and he's so disgusted at the sight of his son that he contemplates throwing him into a river. And fortunately, he doesn't end up doing that. But he does abandon his son on the front steps of what turns out to be a nursing home. And shortly after little Benjamin is on the steps, Queenie, who is one of the employees of the nursing home, happens to walk down the steps, notice this child, and it's clear that this child has been abandoned. And so Queenie vows to raise this child herself. Now, can you imagine? Now, this is just interesting. You've got a baby that looks like a really old man growing up in a nursing home surrounded by other old people. And it doesn't take Benjamin long to realize that he's in fact aging backwards. While all the other patients in the nursing home are getting older and they're showing the accompanying effects of old age, Benjamin, on the other hand, is he's changing in the opposite direction. He's getting more hair. His legs are getting more secure. He's able to walk and then run. And he's waking up each day with a greater level of energy than the one before. And because neither he nor anyone else there's no frame of reference for a life like this. No one else has ever been born like this. And so Benjamin feels very confused, understandably, and he also feels very alone. And in this first clip that we're going to watch, Benjamin shares these heartfelt feelings with his adoptive mother. Listen carefully.
Everybody has different mothers that will grow their own mother. But we all go the same way. Let's say in different rooms to get there, that's all. Doing your own road, bitch. Mama, how much longer I got? Just be thankful for what you give me. You already have all when you're supposed to.
Greg, when are we flying out? All right. Queenie's statement in the clip you just watched highlights one of the major themes of the movie, which is whether you're aging forward or whether you're aging backward. The truth is, you ain't got a ton of time. You don't have a ton of time. And I know that's not a profound statement. All of you get this, I think. The problem is we don't always live like this. We don't always live like our days are limited. To live that way is a discipline, and most of us, all of us, struggle with various disciplines. And so we need reminders. And so this morning's message is not so much something profound that you're going to walk away and say, well, I never knew that before. This morning's message is meant to serve as a reminder to you and to me of the fact that we don't got a ton of time. Of the fact that we only get one shot to get things right. If you're married, you've only got one shot to get things right with your spouse. And if you've been blessed with children, you've got only one shot to get it right with your kids. And you've only got one shot to get it right with your extended family, or if you're married with your in-laws. You've got only one shot with your career. And only one shot with the people around you, your sisters and brothers in Christ who are part of the same church community as you. And you only have one shot with God. Now this doesn't mean that there aren't second chances. This doesn't mean that this thing that we celebrate at River City Church, this reality that we embrace called grace, isn't real. It is real. What it does mean is this, that once you live a day, it's gone. Like a freight train, like yesterday. Once you live a month, it's gone. Once you live a year, it's gone forever. And too many people let days and weeks and months and even decades go by without setting things right in their relationships with other people. Too many people let months and years and even decades go by before they actually live the life they truly wanted. And some wait so long, and this is tragic, that they completely give up trying. They just give up. I've met such people, and you've met them too. Maybe you're one of them. Maybe this talk will be profound for you today. And this week's movie confronts us with the fact of our mortality. Death always comes too soon. I've never met anybody who was emotionally and physically healthy who said, I'm ready to die. I've had enough. I want to die. Emotionally and healthy people want to live longer. And in the curious case of Benjamin Button, we're confronted with the brevity of our lives and the fact of our eventual death. And I realize that might be a morbid topic which may explain why the culture that we live in is in denial of death. And let me explain what I mean by that. Many young people today live as though they're immortal. They watch movies in which people can't be killed. They do things that result in an untimely death sometimes, high-risk sports. And I don't know, it wasn't like this when I was a kid. Here, that's the first time I said that. I'm 40 now, right? But when we crossed a busy road, we either crossed at a light when it was our turn to cross, or we ran quickly. And today, I'm sure you encounter it, driving my kids to school, I encounter it all the time. Young people going to Benny's, crossing Franklin, probably the second busiest or busiest street in the city. And they don't even look. They don't have the light, they don't even look, and they just walk across assuming that the driver is going to slow down, which the driver should, of course, but assuming that the driver is paying attention and isn't checking their BlackBerry or picking up a cup of coffee or any of another dozen reasons why they might be distracted.